The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Okay, so I apologize ahead of time. We are not in the normal room, my little office that you normally see me in. And I am not using my personal computer. I'm using my work computer. I am in my office that I work at during the day. They are doing construction in that room because a few months ago, when we had heavy rains in LA, it leaked through the skylight, and they recently just took the skylight out and are eventually going to put a new ceiling in, but that hasn't happened yet. So I am not in that room right now like I wish I were. And I didn't want to wait forever to give you guys another video. So unfortunately, I don't have my poster to scratch things off. I don't have my computer files that show me what movies are on the poster. So I'm kind of just doing an impromptu review. I did not write any notes, but I am doing it on 1985's Legend, which you can see the poster behind me, and I'm wearing a shirt fitting for this this review. I just got back from seeing Legend at the Academy Museum with a friend of mine. We went and saw a screening because, believe it or not, it was nominated for Best Makeup, and oh my God, it deserved the nomination. I don't have my list, so I can't look up and find out. Oh, I wouldn't have that on the list anyway. What was nominated or what won for Best Makeup? Let's see if I can figure it out real quick. 1985 Best Makeup Academy Awards. Let's see if it'll tell me. Amadeus won. I haven't seen Amadeus. Makeup and hairstyle. Amadeus won. I haven't seen it, so it's not like I can say, did it deserve it or not. And honestly, I don't know. Oh, am I going to be able to get to it quick enough? I don't want to spend all my time on this, you know what I mean? This short sound, visual writing. It's not here. Music, foreign film. Okay, not even on their website do they show it. I don't know why they would give me the option and then not put it on their website, all the categories. Anyway, don't want to go down a rabbit hole with that, but it was nominated, I know that, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So we had somebody there tonight at the Academy Museum during the screening that talked about makeup. She's done some makeup for some other things. I cannot, please forgive me, I cannot remember her name, but hopefully I can find it real quick on the makeup department. Lois Burwell. So Lois Burwell was there tonight to tell us some stuff about Legend, which was great because there were some things that she talked about that I didn't know of. Like it took 12 hours to get Tim Curry into that makeup, and he had a skin allergy sensitivity, and so they had to be really careful about what they did. And it was her idea to do a scene where in the beginning where he's painted all black. And he's got the glowing eyes and the glowing nails. It was her idea to do that, and they brought it up to, eventually brought it up to director Ridley Scott, who, oh my God, hands down to this man for this fantastic film. And he eventually said yes, and did that scene in the beginning that you see him talking to Blix in the very beginning, where he is literally painted all black. He's not just in the shadows. He is literally painted all black, that makeup, and he's got the glowing eyes and the glowing fingernails. And she said to get Tim Curry's mouth and tongue black, there was these licorice candies from England that they gave him that he made his mouth perfectly black. So this was filmed at Pinewood Studios in England, which is the same studio where they were they film James Bond, and at the time they were doing A View to a Kill. So she said when they were doing makeup, oftentimes Grace Jones and Christopher Walken and other people would come in and watch and spend time with Tim Curry while he was doing makeup. So it's nice to get these little tidbits of information. It enriches the experience because you know that real people took real time to do this. There was no computer, she says. So all the makeup that you see, all the costuming that you see, was all them, and it's what their hands touched on the day of filming, because none of it was touched up post because they did no computer for this. So all the makeup and the hairstyling and everything that you see was actually what they did and what they put and what they touched, including Tim Curry. And everybody except for two people, Mia Sara, who plays Lily, and Tom Cruise, who plays Jack. She said otherwise, every other actress in this film has some sort of prosthetic on. So just imagine that. I mean, watching the film, you go, oh yeah, of course, everybody's got something on. But what was amazing was she says the man who was doing the prosthetics, most of the prosthetics, not all, because I think Bromtom and Screwball were done there, but most of the prosthetics that were made by a man who was in the United States, and they had to fly these prosthetics almost daily, because every time you put somebody in makeup and then took it out, you couldn't use the same piece again the next day when you filmed. So all these pieces were being flown to England, and she said there were times where they were, sitting waiting for the pieces were stuck in customs, and they were literally waiting for them to be released so that they could do the makeup and then film. The saving grace was the few scenes that had just Mia Sara and Tom Cruise. They could actually do those, but everybody else had some sort of prosthetic on, so they couldn't. I love this film. I watch it. It's like high on my list of like one of my absolute favorite films of all time. I definitely rate it a 10 out of 10 on IMDb. And I watch it every single year, at least once during Halloween. It is my Halloween ritual. I'll either watch it the night before or I'll watch it Halloween night. Absolutely every single year. I never miss. It's such a fan. And sometimes, during the year, I'll watch it as well. So I've seen it countless times. I don't even know how many times I've seen it. I do have the version that has the director's version. I don't know if any of you have seen the director's version of Legend, but it is a whole other thing. So the story goes, Ridley Scott, they were making this film. It took, and I didn't know this, she told us tonight that it literally took 9 months to film this film. And that's like, holy crap, that's a long time to film a film. So anyway, I know that they were filming this film, and they had Elliot Goldenthal doing the music. Excuse me. And they had Elliot Goldenthal doing the music. And they screen tested it. And the audience hated it. It was dark, it was depressing, it was slow. And it's not just the music, but the music made a huge difference. Had a huge impact on how the film felt. And so because the testing went so bad, Ridley Scott edited some of it, changed the beginning. That whole beginning sequence that you see on the regular theatrical version is not what he originally had. And if you watch the director's version, you see a whole completely other beginning, like during the credits. The music is completely different. And it really does make for a completely different movie, because once he got Tangerine Dreams on board and got them to do this, it lightened up the whole movie. There's this whole fantasy element that really wasn't there. It was almost like a horror. It's almost like watching Alien, like a dark horror film before with Elliot Goldenthal's music. And I have both versions, and like I said, it really is a completely different movie. It is night and day. Even though you're watching the same movie, it feels completely different. The one thing I will say about the director's version that I really love is the extended scene with Meg de Mugglebone. Now, Meg is just such a great, fun character, and the makeup and the prosthetics for that character is so beautiful. It's almost heartbreaking to see that scene cut literally in half for the theatrical version with Tangerine Dream, because there's this whole part where, so if you watch the regular version, he talks to Meg, and she's like, I'm going to eat you. You don't really mean to eat me. Oh, indeed I do. And she comes back and he cuts her head off. Okay, so what you'll notice is, if you pay real close attention, what you'll notice is when he's telling her, you don't mean to eat me, do you? His shield is like, it's huge. It's a shield, so it's covering kind of like here. It's unmistakably, he has the shield on his arm. He has it here when he says that line. Then she goes, indeed I do. They cut to her, indeed I do. And they come back, and then he no longer has the shield, has his sword out, cuts her head off. And as she's dying, you see his shield on the tree behind her. And you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Wait a second. Like, the shield is there, and oh, you know what? I forgot to give my disclaimers. I don't have any of my stuff here. This is complete, so forgive me. My disclaimer is, first, I'm going to give spoilers. Second, this is completely unedited and unfiltered. So I'm going to say fuck sometimes, or I'm going to say whatever I say and whatever comes out of my mouth. I will put a list at the bottom here of all the movies that I mention, especially if I give a spoiler to. I'll have a header that says spoiler, and you'll see. If you've been watching my videos, you know I'll give you a list of movies at the bottom. I'll still do that, even though I don't have any of my files on this on this computer. So anyway, you're like, how the fuck did that shield get there? It was just in his hand. So if you watch the director's version, that scene is extended, and it's such a great scene. It shows off, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise doesn't have a whole lot to do. Actually, yeah, I won't say that. That's not true. But Tom Cruise has little pieces in this film, and nothing that really carries like his ability through, except for a couple of parts at the end, or more than halfway through. But this scene really shows him off really well. He tries to. At first, he's scared of her. You don't mean to eat me, do you? But then because he's not so sure of himself at that part of the film. They've asked him to be the hero. They've asked him to use a weapon. Well, Gump, I know nothing of weapons. So he's a child. He's kind of like Tarzan, where he's a child of nature, and he communicates with the animals, and they don't really show that, but he does. He communicates with the animals, and he is more. He's sort of a forest child. That's what Gump calls him. Be you a forest child and not know the Gump? So he calls him a forest child. He's a forest child. So he knows nothing of human weapons or anything like that, and so he is very unsure of himself. He's in armor, which he's not used to wearing at all. He's not used to wearing. So he's very uncomfortable when he first comes upon Meg, and this is his first test as a soldier or a hero, or the hero they need him to be, the champion they need him to be. And so at first he's like caught off guard and a little scared, and then when she says that oh, indeed I do, I mean to eat you, he stops her and then talks about how beautiful she is. It's been a while since I've seen it, so if I screw this up, I apologize. It has been a while since I've seen the director's version, but if I remember correctly, he comments on how beautiful she is and why would you want to eat me, and he's trying to charm her and manipulate her, and it's such a great shift in Jack, because you don't get to see him do a whole lot of long scenes in this film. It's a lot of one-liners, a lot of quick things, and this scene is really beautiful, and I wish, and then eventually, he tricks her into taking the shield, and she's looking at herself, and she puts it on the tree, and she's looking at herself, and then he, takes his weapon out, and then he ends up killing her, yes, but, he takes her head off, because she does intend to eat them. I love that scene so much, and it is in the director's version, but the music is just all, nothing. I'm not trying to say something bad about Elliot Goldenthal. He's done some great music aside from this. It just didn't fit the fantasy element of this film. It made this film a horror, like a really dark horror, and that's not what this film should be. This film should definitely be a fantasy film. And Tangerine Dreams is what made that possible. I just wish that in Ridley Scott's editing, after his initial test, in his editing, changing the beginning and a couple other things in the middle, I wish he would have left the longer Meg scene in, because it's such a great scene. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely encourage you, check out the director's version. Know that it is not the original. It is a completely different movie. Please take my word for it. So you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I definitely encourage you, if nothing else, to fast forward and try to find the extended Meg scene. You might even be able to find it online. Maybe somebody's, cut that piece and you can find it. But it's so beautiful. It's such a great scene that I wish that scene was definitely kept in. Anyway, the music for this, I used to have the soundtrack. I still do. And I used to listen to it all the time. It's such an amazing, I could just sit in the dark and just listen to the soundtrack because it is so amazing. Take out the songs, because there are 2 songs in there. I wish I could just take out the songs and just listen to the beautiful soundtrack, all the music that's just, it's so amazing. And it really did change the whole film. So the fantasy, this is one of my favorite fantasy films of all time. I love the cinematography, the sets, the things floating in the air. It just gives it such a texture, and that real and to realize that it was almost completely filmed. It was almost 100% completely filmed in a studio. My friend mentioned tonight afterwards, he said it does feel like you're in a box. You never see a huge wide open. They didn't have the computer generation that we have now, so it's not like in Gladiator where they can recreate the Colosseum, the entire Colosseum, and add extras into the stands. They can't do that or create wide open spaces that aren't there. They couldn't do that. So all these shots all have to be contained in a studio, and partway through the filming, like I said, it took 9 months to film, which I didn't know. So part way through filming, the studio burnt down. Part of the studio burnt down, the James Bond studio. I didn't know that either. It did, and they had to deal with the fact that part of the studio burnt down. They were filming a couple other films at the time, not A View to a Kill, but something else. Like I said, 9 months. That's unheard of. It's a long filming process. So that at the time that the studio burnt down, they were filming, like she said, a Christmas movie, a horror movie, and then Legend. And so everybody in costume, like goblins and elves from the Christmas movie and Santa, were all helping, trying to get people to freedom, get the animals to freedom, and things like that. But just to and then at that point they started filming some things outside in the courtyard, in the what you said, the parking lot and things like that. The part with the unicorns in the stream and things like that. But she said unless you were there, you would never be able to tell which scenes were actually filmed inside the studio and which scenes were filmed outside the studio. And like my friend said, it feels like you're in a box almost the entire time because there are no big wide open shots. The two closest scenes in the film that I can think of that would be wide open is when they go to the tree. At the first time they go to the tree and they show that huge open shot, but that is not outdoors. You can tell that's still in a studio, but they were able to make that look like it really is a huge, beautiful shot. I love that shot, and you can tell the birds are fake, but who cares, or bats or whatever they are. But who cares? It's a fantasy film. It's a fantastic film. The other one that that looks like a huge open shot that look like could be outdoor, well, not really outdoors, is the very end when he kills him and he goes into space, and it's that huge open shot where it looks like it could be outside, but it's not. So it's very interesting to hear somebody else's opinion about, how they felt about watching the film. Now, he's seen the film before too, my friend that came with me, and he's seen the director for so he used to have movie nights at his place, and at one time I brought Legend over and we watched it, and we used to do two movies a night, and we watched if I remember correctly, we used to do 2 movies a night, and we watched it, or we watched something else, and then they were like, which version do we watch? Do we watch the director's version or the other? And I said, if you guys watch the director's version, I'm out. I've already watched it. It is a completely different movie. I'm warning you. And they weren't, I don't think they were 100% sold. And it wasn't until after they watched the director's version they were like, holy crap, that really is a completely different movie. So yes, he has seen the director's version and he has seen this version. But it's been a long time since he and I watched that film together, and he and I hardly ever talk film. And, he's in the industry, he does editing, so he appreciates film as well, and he's a part of like I said, the industry. So to hear his perspective on it, the inconsistencies in the story, the ridiculousness sometimes of the story, like how did you get there from here, well, one of the specifics was where Mia Sarah is like, I don't want to please you, I don't want anything to do with you, and then all of a sudden she turns a 180 and is like, I want to kill the unicorn, and then Darkness just believes it. Certain things like that, you gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt and just go, okay, yeah, maybe the story is not as tight as Interstellar or something like that, but it doesn't have to be because it's a fantasy film. And then one of the things that always kind of bothered me just a little bit, he brought up tonight as well, is when Brown Tom gets shot. Brown Tom? Yeah, when Brown Tom gets shot by the goblins and he goes down, and then cut to you find out that he really didn't get shot. It was his elderberry wine that got shot. Well, then what made him go down? And what made him go down and stay down? It doesn't make any sense. It's just to further the story and to have that little bit of comedy where he thinks, was she was here? Was she alive? Well, she was alive still when they killed me. You get little, you get little comedy things like that. But it wouldn't work if he didn't think that he was dead. But a shot that never even touched him, why would he go down? Yeah, there are little things like that it's like kind of like, okay, you kind of just got to let it go. So I was talking before, like the beautiful sets. You would never know that it's in a studio, but it's all in a studio and it's contained and it's gorgeous. And I love all the stuff that's almost constantly floating around because it gives a beautiful texture to it, and the trees and the and not just because it takes that kind of an artistry when you're doing really good makeup to also do the trees and to do set pieces and things like that. So the artistry that went into making this film is just beautiful. And like in Harry Potter, it's wondrous to behold. Like he says in Harry Potter, what do you say? Beautiful magic, wondrous to behold. Anyway, I think that watching this film is wondrous to behold because of how beautiful it is, and the music matches so well. It just creates this other world and this fantasy, and it's just beautiful. And then seeing Tom Cruise young and it is interesting. He doesn't run in this film, so if you're looking for him to run, like there's this online running joke where he runs in every single film. He does not run at all in this film. He does some jumping around, yes. If ever I met Tom Cruise, I would love to ask him, because the other common knowledge thing about Tom Cruise is that he does all his own stunts. I would ask him. I would love to ask him if he actually did his own stunts in this, where he jumps into the water. That ring that she has, I think it's so gorgeous. I would love to have a remake of that ring. Anyway, I'm talking about a lot of stuff that doesn't really have to do with the film. I love the changes in the scenes and the texture at certain times. Like when the unicorn actually gets killed, it's because I don't have notes to follow me through. When the unicorn actually gets when the male gets his alicorn or whatever they call it cut off, and then and then the weather shifts. I love that we get a whole other universe. It's so beautiful because before it was like summer-ish, springish, and beautiful, and flowers and animals everywhere, and little like I don't know what you could pollen stuff like floating around, and then all of a sudden we get all this. It's dark and a lot of blues, a lot of white, like the snow like blasting everything out, and all the snow flying around, and then the petals on the pink petals flying around from the tree. I did notice that there is a part, probably on purpose. This is probably not an accident, so I'm not like probably pointing out anything that you wouldn't know. But I've talked before in other videos about how I notice when a film is being reversed instead of going forward. When the unicorn sits down just before it gets its alicorn chopped off, it is in reverse. And it probably is on purpose. You can see the hair moving backwards instead of... Anyway, that's how they sat the horse down. You can tell that it's all moving backwards. The film is backwards. Anyway, I love that part when when they're sitting at the campfire and he first meets... why is that name not getting my... Gump. Because it's too close to Forrest Gump. So when he first meets Gump, and then he tells him what happened, I love... It's not just the music that changes. When he says, I did it for love. And the whole tone changes. Because here we are in darkness. It went from being beautiful spring and summer to the unicorn gets his alicorn chopped off, and then it goes to dark and winter and snow everywhere. And that scene starts off very like, whoa, who are these people first? Then Gump is like, something's not right. Did you not notice something untoward? Did something untoward not happen? And he's questioning Jack, like, did you see, you're a man of the forest, you're a forest child. Did you not see anything that went wrong today? And it's very suspicious and very worried, and then all of a sudden he says, yeah, I took Lily to see the unicorns, and it's like, what did you do? So it's very dire and very serious. But as soon as he says, I did it for love, the whole mood changes, the music changes, the mood changes. And what I'm getting at, what I really love, is the bubbles that are flying around. I was like, who thinks that this is such a beautiful thing to do and such a great thing to do? And it's so simple. It's just bubbles. But it really does add something to that scene. And whether you notice or not, whether you might be watching this review and going, bubbles? Wait, are you serious? You may not even really noticed it, but there are beautiful bubbles floating around. The snow has stopped. They're nowhere near the trees with the pink petals, and what's floating around now is bubbles, and the whole mood changes because Gump finds out that, Jack did this for love. It was a mistake. He didn't mean it, and love is what's important, and I love that. They do that in this film, and they depict that very, very well. And then they toast to love and all the beautiful petals. Okay. So here's another embarrassing fact that you'll find out about me. Why not? Okay. So I'm gonna look it up before. Okay. There is an actual phobia, a fear, sparklophobia. I don't know if I actually have sparklophobia, which is a fear of glitter. I don't know if I actually have it or not because, how do you diagnose it? I do know that glitter, I hate glitter, and it literally when I see it, when it gets near me, not necessarily when I see it, because watching the film, I got no problem watching the movie, and they've got glitter all over their face, and they got glitter all over, I got no problem watching the movie. But if it's near me, I do have physical reactions that are uncontrollable inside me, in my throat, in my chest, it literally, I don't want it to touch me. I don't want to touch it. I don't want it to touch me. I hate it. And it is a real thing. And I don't know if I really have sparklephobia or not, but just imagining myself being in that film in Tom Cruise's position, having that glitter on my face, it just freaks me out. I don't know if I could handle having the glitter all, like, hats off to Tom Cruise who can do that, because apparently, he doesn't have sparklephobia. I think I might have a mild case of it because it does bother me. It's not just that I hate glitter. I literally have a physical reaction when it's near me, or if I have it on me. I need to get it off. So, but it really does add something beautiful, especially that part where he goes and finds the armor, and it's all over his face. Like, they went real heavy. Like, if you watch the film, he has it on him almost all the time. Even in the beginning when he's talking to Lily, she has it on her, like, light, very light, but you can see glitter on her. You can see glitter on him. But it's like heavy glitter in that scene where Una takes him to get the armor and the weapons. And I'm like, oh my God, just seeing it on his face, like, I don't want you to, like, if you were near, I don't want you to touch me. And I'm like, could I film a scene like that? Could I know Sean Connery was afraid of spiders. And there is that scene in Dr. No where they try to kill him with the tarantula, and it's crawling up on his arm when he's in bed, and then it's crawling up on his arm. So he's got no shirt on because he was in bed, he was asleep, and it's crawling on his shoulder, and he's watching it, like, right there. But if you watch very carefully, you can see that the pane of glass that it's walking on accidentally touches, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me because I'm not talking into the mic, accidentally touches Sean Connery's shoulder, and you can see it pressed just like once. I think it's just once, real quick. You can see that little bit of press, and then, like, it lifts off, or it cuts. I can't remember. It's been a little while since I've seen Dr. No. But he could not have it on him. He literally he was scared of spiders and could not have it on him, so it's on a piece of glass. But the fact that he can be that close to it and still be okay, I don't know if he had a phobia or not, but he definitely did not like spiders. So I wonder if I had to film a scene like that with glitter all over, if I would be able to do that. Could I disassociate myself and be able to do the scene and then but just be like, okay, I need you to just take it completely off because it's going to freak me the fuck. Like, if you don't get it off, if I find it, that's what's going to freak me out. Is if I find it on my clothes, that's part of why I hate it, is because I feel like if you touch it, you will never get rid of it, ever. And I just can't. Anyway, scary fact about me, or silly fact about me, number 200, who knows. So that part, it really does enhance that scene, that beautiful scene where everything's got glitter on it and everything's gold, and he's got it, like, heavy on his face, and then Una also has it. It's such a great scene because it's unlike any other scene. It's so bright and vibrant and all gold and just beautiful. They really did do some beautiful stuff. I noticed tonight, and I don't know if I noticed it before, but when he first walks into the cave, you can see over his shoulder on the stones, there are carvings. And it looks, not necessarily carvings, maybe paintings, because it's like a black on a stone. And I think there's, like, large sets of stone where each one has a painting on it. And I don't know if I was watching the theater, so I couldn't pause it like I can at home. I don't know if each one had a different picture on it, but I never noticed before that there were literally paintings on the stones, as he's going into the tunnel, into the cave where he finds the armor. I just noticed that tonight, and I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, what else? What else do I want to talk about? I don't have notes, so it's not like I can talk about every little thing. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about Una. I did mention in another video where contacts really tend to bother me, and I'm sure I put it in context when I talked about it before, when I was talking about the Fableman and how what a stupid, dumb ass fucking choice that was to have your main character have contacts. That was completely unnecessary and insanely distracting. I'm sorry, that was like one of the worst mistakes I've ever seen Steven Spielberg make in any film that he's ever done. That aside, in context, putting contacts in context, putting contacts in someone's eyes to change their color has to have a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, then it bothers the crap out of me. Vampires, when they do it in Interview with the Vampire, I love it. It looks fantastic. It looks great. I have no problem with that at all. When they do it with Tim Curry in this film where he's got those, slits, that I'm perfectly fine with that. And side note, she said he had to have his eyes tested every single day by an optometrist to make sure that those full-on lenses that he wore were not damaging his eyes. Anyway, total side note. What I wanted to say was, when they put the contacts in Una's eyes, and it's those big, huge pupils, and then the big, thick blue. I don't know if her eyes are really blue, but they're definitely not her eyes. You can definitely tell they're contacts, but you're talking about a being we don't know anything about. She's a fairy, but not only is she a fairy, but she's a fairy that grows bigger. Now, is that original? Okay, most people who have seen Hook are like, that's not really original. But Hook was made in 95, 93, 95. Oh my God, I don't want to get that wrong. When was Hook made? 90? 91. Okay? And Legend was made in 1985. So a fairy turning into a larger being was not new when they did Hook. Now, is this the first instance that we see this? I'm not I'm not a film historian, so I'm not sure if they've ever done this before in film, but it's the first time I ever remember seeing that in film. When you watch, Peter Pan, she does not get bigger in Peter Pan. So, it's cartoon, but still, they show her up close, but she's always small. Where this concept where she's a little thing on a wire, you can tell she's on a wire, to she's a full-blown person, was the first time I had ever seen that. And when you're talking about a being that we don't really know much about, or we can do whatever we want, we can make her hair any way we want because she's a fairy, and how do we depict fairy? Whatever way we want. So the contacts are in context of a character that they can do whatever they want with, so it makes sense and it's perfectly fine. I've got no problem. That does not bother me whatsoever when they use contacts in the context of a vampire, a demon, a fairy, that kind of thing. I'm completely fine with that. That doesn't bother me at all. But when you change the eye color of somebody like Superman, when you change his eye color because the person you cast doesn't have blue eyes, I don't care. I don't care if Superman has blue eyes or not. Is it essential for the character to have blue eyes? No. It's more distracting for him to have contacts in my opinion. You know what? There are probably plenty of people out there that think I'm full of shit, and that's perfectly fine. In my opinion, I don't care that Superman has blue eyes if the best person for the job, the one with Brandon Routh is just a travesty. Let's not go into that. But if the best person for the job doesn't necessarily have blue eyes, I don't care. I would rather him have his natural eyes, whatever color they may be, than put in contacts that just are distracting and horrible and stupid, in my opinion. So, we'll get off that soapbox. I did like the way she was portrayed, and that scene with, not the first scene she gets big. The first scene she gets big is when they get the armor. I do like that scene, but I love the scene later on when they're in jail. and she tries to manipulate Jack into kissing her. It's such a beautiful scene. Now, there may be differences of opinions as to how her ability works. Is this important? Who knows? But I'm going to talk about it anyway. So there may be some if you listen to what the characters say, you realize she is able to change her appearance, not just for who's looking at her. Now, you may think when you watch that scene, and if you're only paying attention to Jack and Una, you may think she's manipulating him into seeing her a different way. But the fact that Screwball mentions it's fairy magic, she has changed her figure completely. Everybody sees Lily. They no longer see Una. She has changed her physicality, her appearance for everyone who is looking at her. It is not just Jack she is manipulating. But I love that scene. It's such a great, beautiful scene. And how he feels his way through it and logics his way through it. And like, no, you can't. Human hearts don't work that way. I love that. But I also equally love her line right after, "What care I for human hearts, soft and spiritless as porridge." Yes, I love that. A fairy's heart beats fierce and free. It's such a great little scene. I love that scene. And then they get him out. And then they get them out. Yeah. What is that thing that that Gump is using to tell the time, that little globe? I don't understand that, but whatever. Okay, it's a fairy thing. I don't have to understand it. Or it's a what is he? He's an elf, so it's an elf thing. So I don't have to understand it. It's fine. That little globe that he uses. How did that change? And how do you know the time? Okay. I don't understand it. That's fine. That always like made me question, like, what is that? Why is that there? Something I noticed tonight. Okay, so tonight's viewing was not digital. It was on a print, 35 millimeter print in a can that they borrowed or rented from Universal. There was a projectionist. He had to change the reels. So we actually got to see the little bit of grittiness, the little bit of spots, because we were talking about 1985. So they said they picked the best one they could, and still you see some lines in the film and spots and things like that, and a little bit of shaky camera a couple of times. What I noticed, but she said what is preserved very well is the color. She said the color is preserved very well no matter what you want, and the music, the sound is all preserved very, very well. And tonight, there's that scene when they're all in the tree, including her, the huge tree. So we're talking about, if you've seen it, you know, it's a huge tree. So we're talking about rooms, and we're talking about the kitchen, and we're talking about the hallways and everything that she's running through. That's all inside the tree. So when she's in the tree running around, before she turns into the dark figure, the voiceover is Satan. By the way, Tim Curry does not play the devil. He plays Darkness. That's his name, Darkness. He plays Darkness. He is an agent of the devil. The guy he talks to, who is only a voice, who is in the fireplace, who's in the fireplace, we are led to believe that's Satan, or that's the devil. So anyway, when Satan is having his monologue about woo her, tempt her, make her one of us, what does he say? hypnotize her, set her free. That's that's that same beautiful contradiction, like at the end of Labyrinth, when he's like, fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave. It's that same, it's so beautiful and so wonderful and so like despicable at the same time. Anyway, when she's running through and she jumps over the fire, or the fire goes down and she jumps through, you see Brown Tom and Screwball are hiding there, and they don't see her go by, and then they get up and they're like, what was that? And the doors close. And then she goes into that room with the black pillars, those gorgeous black pillars, like just, oh, I've always loved that. It's like Alien. So both Ridley Scott. So it's like Alien when they go in and they see those large, all the structures inside the Geiger-esque motif of the ship is just gorgeous. And I feel the same way about those black pillars, those beautiful ornate black pillars that are so smooth and like gorgeous. Anyway, when she's running through that, I have seen the DVD and Blu-ray version and streaming version. Probably streaming. Maybe not streaming. I've owned it for so long. I probably haven't seen a streaming version of it in forever. So and it's hardly ever on streaming. Unfortunately, it's not a super popular film that's always on streaming, which it should be. I think it's fantastic. Anyway, I've always watched it on either a long time ago VHS, DVD, or Blu-ray. Okay? And that scene is very pale blue. If I'm not mistaken, it is a very pale blue, almost white. It's beautiful, and those columns are gorgeous, but just a light pale blue. Watching it tonight on the 35 millimeter, it is purple. Clearly gorgeous purple. And I was so shocked. My friend even afterwards was like, I heard you like freak out. I was so shocked. It literally took my breath away. I was like, it was so gorgeous. Just the color was completely different. And the texture on the pillars was the same, the gorgeous black and the texture, but the color created a completely different atmosphere in that room. That beautiful purple. And I was like, where did that come from? I've seen this so many times, and that scene is not purple. And then all of a sudden I'm watching the 35 millimeter on an actual, projection, and it's purple. And she even said the color was preserved well. All the other colors throughout the entire film were exactly like I remember them. Almost every single scene, all the color. There was a couple of scenes that looked a little bit different, but not much. Maybe a little bit different hue, not much. But this was purple, clearly completely different. I thought it was for the first time in years. Legend took my breath away, and I was like, "Whoa!" It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. But I do love that scene leading up to her, going into the room and then dancing with the dark figure of her. I've always loved that. I was never a huge. It took me a while to appreciate the change in the music there. I love her music when she's dancing, and then she dances with her, and then she becomes her. That music is gorgeous. I've always thought so. But that shift from that to when darkness comes through the mirror, I've always felt like that. I for a long time, I didn't like the music. Then I thought it was inappropriate. Then I thought, why couldn't they have just done something else? And it took me a long time to really appreciate that, to where now when I watch it, I'm like, okay, I get it. I like that music now. I enjoy that part of it. That's the only part of Legend that ever kind of stuck with me, that was like, I don't really like it. And then I didn't, and then it took me a while to appreciate it and like it. But my absolute favorite scene, and I wish I had a big, beautiful poster of it. A big, beautiful, clear, crisp, wonderful poster of it. My absolute favorite scene, if I could still the movie at one point and just go, that's my favorite clip of that film is just after he comes out of the mirror, she's laying on the ground because she's passed out. And you get that shot of him starting to kneel down, and the wind picks up his cloak behind him. Oh my God, it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. If I could just have a still of that. With his horns, his arms reaching down for her, the cloak behind him, the fire in the background. It's just, whoa. There's only one other scene that I can think of in my brain right now, in all of film history, in all the movies I've ever seen. There's only one other scene that I wish I could have a still of and put it on my wall, because I think you captured like a fucking gorgeous capture of just one still second, and I wish I could put it on my wall. And that's in The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, when the ring falls off Frodo's neck and in the snow. And just before Boromir picks it up, they have that shot of the ring in the snow right in the foreground, and then everybody's in the background. Again, that is another shot that just takes my breath away. It is so gorgeous. It's like this shot. Those are the only two quick captures of a scene in any film that I would love to literally have a huge poster on my wall of it, because it's so gorgeous. I'm not talking about movie posters. Movie posters are a completely other thing. I'm talking about an actual still from the movie. If I were to own a still from any movie, it would be one of those two. I would love it. A big still of that. Just beautiful, beautiful. Darkness, man. I like the shirt. You know, I'm he's one of my favorite. It's not just Tim Curry. It is Tim Curry. Tim Curry's fucking amazing in this role. It is not just Tim Curry that I love. It's the combination of the movie. It's a combination of the character. It's a combination of the makeup. Oh my God. And the prosthetics and the horn and everything about that character is amazing. I love that character. He's so well done in every single aspect of him, except for the end with the mask. I'll talk about that in a second. But every aspect of him, and that whole scene of him talking to her after she gets up, just for fun. I would love to have a continuous scene of just that entire part. Her dance, her turning into the dark, him coming out of the mirror, surprising her, and that whole part where he talks about sit and talk with me and drink, and the even now the evil seed of what you've done germinates within you, and dreams are my speciality, and I offer you this dowry, my love, and, sit and talk. I'll do nothing for your pleasure. And then he gets upset, and I want to kill the unicorn. He laughs, and I wish I cut everything else out just for fun. I would love to just watch that continuous, uninterrupted, that entire part. I would love to see that, because all those pieces are so emotional and so wonderful and so just brilliant. I would love to just sit and watch just that. Take all the other scenes out just for fun, like I said. That's not how I would ever present the movie. You can't do that. It would be a completely different type of movie to leave your other characters for so long. Like, that was the major problem in the third Matrix, is there was multiple times where they left a group of characters that movie was just unnecessarily way too long. I'm not saying I didn't like it. It's way too long, and there were just scenes where it was just all CGI, and what's happening to all the other characters while you're here for 20 minutes? What's happening to all the other characters? Anyway, You can't have that one scene in a movie. You would leave the other characters alone too long. Just for fun, though, it would be awesome to see just that entire, the whole entire scene play out uninterrupted. Which have some of the best lines, just some of the best. Oh my! And Tim Curry is just, oh my God! You were meant to play. I can't even imagine anybody else playing this character. Tim Curry, may he rest in peace. Wow! Thank you for leaving us that beautiful piece of art that will always be there. I think it's fantastic. What else do I want to say? Oh, that piece of music. Okay, so talking about the music. So right after, excuse me, I think it's right after that entire scene, with even all the other stuff in between, cut in between. After that scene, and he laughs, darkness is my destroyer. I want to kill the unicorn. And then he laughed. I fucking love that. I love that laugh. That's like the epitome of evil laugh. I love it. And he does it so well. Anyway, right after that, I think they go to the kitchen. I have a plan. Jack says, I have a plan. And they're going to take the plates, the reflecty plates, and that piece of music with the flute is so amazing that I can't even do it. I don't even want to try to do it. But that little piece with the flute right there, where they're getting the plates, and it's really quick, and it's really, Anyway, I used to have that as my ringtone. I love that part. I mean, of the entire soundtrack. That just speaks to me. That piece with the flute is so amazing. I love it. The entire soundtrack is amazing, but that little piece always just got me. Just a little extra, I love that little piece. I wish it were longer. I wish they used it more in the film and not just at that point, and that's it. What else do I want to say? Okay, so let's talk about the big part that I didn't like about Darkness. Okay, and you can only do so much. And I totally understand. I'm not faulting the filmmakers for this at all, not at all. But it does suck at the end. It does suck a little at the end when Jack and Darkness are fighting. It's a great scene, great fights, great lines. Again, Tim Curry has all the amazing lines in this film. But there are parts when I'm assuming it's not Tim Curry. Okay? There are parts where the fight is happening and you can tell that he's got a mask that doesn't move on. It's not Tim Curry's makeup that moves with his mouth and moves with everything. It's not the 12-hour fucking makeup job. It is it looks like a very quick done mask with his mouth open and it doesn't move. It is a little irritating to see that too often during that fight scene. I wish that when they were editing, they really looked at you can see that a little too much right there. Can we cut that just a little short? Can we see the same thing and try a different angle? Can we use a part where it actually is Tim Curry instead of that little piece? It's just there's a couple of times where I'm like, oh, that's just too. They did such an amazing, fucking fantastic job with this makeup, and then to have that end, the big culmination, the big battle at the end with him and Jack, and then to have that mask kind of just oh man, come on, that kind of ruins it. You did such an amazing job with this gorgeous makeup, and then now you've got this stuntman wearing this mask, and it's kind of oh. But like I said, you can only do so much. It's a film. Practically, I don't think Tim Curry could be wearing 7-inch stilts. I think it was 7-inch. I think that's what they said tonight. I don't think practically Tim Tim Curry. I don't think practically Tim Curry could wear 7-inch stilts and do those stunts and do that fight scene. I don't even know if Tim Curry does any of the fighting. Well, he does, because you can tell that it's him. But I mean, like I said, you can only do so much. It's just a little like, oh man, that sucks, man. You could have cut that a little bit different. This movie is so beautiful. I love it. Like I said, I watch it all the time. One thing I did want to say, the last thing I'll say is, in the beginning, that once upon a time, that thing that you read, the what do you call it, prologue at the beginning that you read. I love that so much that at one point I memorized it and used it as an audition, and got the part. It's such a great piece, and I can't help myself. Like every year when I watch it for Halloween, around Halloween, either the night before or Halloween, every year when I watch it, I can't help but just I gotta say it out loud, and I gotta try my best. You know, I mean, what is it? Really? How can you not? They have the opening scene, but it's not the title scene. Oh, here it is. I don't know. I've been talking all night, so I don't know if I can do this anymore. Plus, I have this fan on me, and no, I'm not even going to try it. My voice is not where it should be. Once long ago, before there was such a thing. No, I can't do it. But that whole monologue, I love that monologue, and every time I watch it for Halloween, I can't help but say it out loud as it's going. In my best, try to do a deep radio voice, type of voice as I say it. Anyway, I love that scene. Okay, so you got another review. I'm sorry it's not in the room. I hope this sounds okay. I'm gonna listen to it and make sure it's copacetic before I actually post it. Hopefully I do post it, and you get a quick review without any notes of 1985 legend. Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, Tim Curry, the absolutely fantastic, amazing Tim Curry, directed by the infamous Ridley Scott. This is such a great movie. I would recommend it to just about anybody. There's nothing in this there is violence, but it's no different than watching a cartoon because there's no blood. There's never any blood. There's no language. There's no, what is this rated? PG. Definitely rated PG. An hour, 34 minutes. I would recommend it to anybody. So I don't know how long this construction is going to take in the other room, but as soon as that's all done, I have notes for the Star Wars. You can't call it a trilogy. I have notes for the Star Wars insanity. And I will be doing reviews of 3 of them, not all of them. I will be doing reviews of just 3 of them, but I will talk about all of them, most likely. So, thank you for watching. See you next time, hopefully in the right room. Bye.